Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and this evening we'll be having a look at the latest GFS, GM, ECMWF, GFS ensembles, and then we'll lastly have a look at the Met Office CET, as it is looking like we're looking at quite a cold April, coldest for quite a few years in fact. Now do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you do like and subscribe, as it really does help me out. So currently we're having a look at the latest GFS, and you can see we've got a big area of high pressure over the top of the country, and it's the reason why we've had some very pleasant days over the last sort of 3, 4, 5 days, with a lot of sunshine, a lot of dry weather as well. However, if we have a look at the flow, you can see it is sort of northeasterly placed, which is, at this time of year, you'd expect to be a little bit cold, but nothing too chilly. But on the east coast, that's where we've seen the coldest conditions, as we've got that northeasterly flow. And if we go to sea surface temperatures, you can see only around 3 or 4 degrees, whereas out to the south and west, where normally our winds come from, it's more around 12, 13 degrees, which is why in those sort of eastern areas, temperatures have been suppressed slightly, with perhaps a little bit of cloud as well. Best temperatures today have been in the west. I haven't seen any official communication from the Met Office yet, as I'm recording this, about whether the UK did reach 20 degrees today, because I saw in the forecast there was potential of 20 degrees, but quite widely around 15, 16, 17 degrees. It does look like this high pressure theme will continue for the next few days, and we'll continue with very light winds. Maybe a bit of low pressure to North Scotland could bring some rain, and we continue on this note. Temperatures do start to suppress. As you can see, low pressure is developing out in the North Sea, and it's opening the winds up to more of a northerly flow, which means temperatures are going to slowly suppress. Nothing too cold, but perhaps will bring overnight frosts again. But as you see, that area of low pressure develops over the top of the UK, and we're pulling in quite cold easterly winds. Now, again, it'll feel chilly, especially towards Scotland, where we've got quite cold air in place, and you can't rule out a few snow showers. I would expect this GFS run probably to be towards a colder extent of the ensembles, just simply because this time of year getting the -5 line through is pretty difficult. But in this scenario, we would have some showers around, as we are initially under low pressure, before the isobars slacken a bit and spread out, and we return to more like sort of clear skies with overnight frosts. In the day, though, still relatively pleasant in the sunshine, where the winds do fall light. We don't see too much cloud. We still see 14, 15 degrees, but temperatures will be suppressed if we do see cloud and wind. Beyond that, on this GFS run, we maintain this sort of lower pressure with northern blocking out towards Greenland, as we've seen quite a lot over the last few months, and we continue with low pressure around to our south and our east, pulling in a northeasterly wind. We've got, again, colder air within this. Nothing bitterly cold, but pretty chilly. And we do see northerly winds return. And again, this is probably an outline, the GFS coming out to 10 days with this extent of cold. But yeah, pretty chilly. Potentially even some snow showers with that. But yeah, a definite return to overnight frost if this does come off. Let me just go back there. If we look into the longer term, we maintain this low pressure to our east, high pressure to our west, northerly winds. Again, upper air still pretty chilly, nothing bitterly cold. Maybe some snow over hills, but anything to low-lying areas. Just be frosty in the mornings, but during the day maybe 10 to 15 degrees for the highs. But it'll probably be quite sunny as well, as it's not looking like westerly-based zonality, which is more likely to bring cloud and rain. Beyond that, really just in the same sort of flow, and these signs are not good if you want a dry, hot summer. Now, we've had quite a dry April so far. Some areas have recorded pretty minimal rainfall, so we do need the rain, but we've had quite an unusual scenario where it's been cold and dry, something you don't usually see in sort of springtime. As usually when we have higher pressure over the top of the country, it means winds are from a south or southwesterly base, which tend to be warmer, so we see warmer than average temperatures with dry conditions. But we've seen dry and cold simply just because of the flow, and not too much low pressure's been around, and the high pressure's really just sat in the Atlantic, bringing a northerly flow in, not allowing showers to develop too much, but been pretty chilly indeed. If we now move on to the GEM run, You can see, again, very similar to the GFS, we start to pull in those northeasterly winds, and we do get the -5 through line through Scotland. As I said, the GFS is a bit more of an outlier, putting it through southern England. Actually, the GM does go for it briefly before it retreats back towards the North Sea coast. So again, pretty chilly there. But interestingly, the GM does break away from that big Atlantic block. It sort of divides it with a big area of high pressure towards the Azores, like we would expect, and high pressure towards Greenland. Now this starts to bring in, again, sort of northeasterly winds, but perhaps because these low pressures are coming in off the Atlantic, would be more of a wet signal, and that's something I am seeing in some of the ensembles. You can see quite warm conditions to the south, cold conditions to the north. This could be a signal for quite a lot of rain, as those weather fronts will be quite active, with quite a big clash in air masses with that low pressure towards southern England. That could be quite a rain event if that did come off. Again, it's 10 days away, so it's unlikely to play out exactly like that, but just interesting to see that GM is going slightly different to the GFS, and not all hopes are lost for anything coming from sort of the south or southwest, and for rain for some of those gardeners out there who need it. If we have a look at the ECMWF, it'll be interesting to see which sort of side this goes. See, again, very similar pattern to the GM, GFS, with quite cold northerly winds. And then, similar to the GM, it does try and break a low pressure through. Nothing too significant, nothing as deep. But we definitely do go a bit more westerly. Still a northerly flow in general, simply because we've got northern blocking and high pressure over Greenland. But a bit warmer air to our south. Again, colliding air masses. This could potentially spiral up quite a deep area of low pressure, or at least convective showers within that. Could be a few thunderstorms and quite active weather fronts within that. So yeah, both GM and ECMWF are showing something a lot wetter, as that block in the Atlantic is lesser, or has less strength. And it basically means that more low pressure can come in off the Atlantic, more energy, more lift, and more likely to see rain and wind. So interesting to see with that. Now, if we have a look at the GFS ensembles, you can see generally at the moment we're around average. But it's been quite pleasant, quite warm indeed, and it does show you what the spring sunshine can do when you've got clear days, clear days with no clouds, light winds, and does mean even though temperatures in the longer term look around or just below average, it doesn't rule out having warm days like we've had the last few days, but it's been very pleasant from anywhere from about 10 a.m. to about 5 p.m. Either side of that, yeah, it's pretty chilly when the sun goes down, but it's sort of the best we can do with the weather conditions that we're getting. So yeah, towards sort of mid next week, you do see temperatures do drop quite a lot. A -5 line looks like it will briefly come through southeast England, but will retreat quickly back to the coast and back northwards as temperatures do start to recover, but always remain a couple degrees below average. You can see there's a lot of spread, not too many ensemble members going like really above average, but yeah, still quite a few getting down to potentially -5, including the operational GFS. I did say that was an outlier, being quite cold. But again, it's in a minority and is an outlier. But there are a few other ensemble members going for it. It's not a crazy outlier like with this ensemble member, it's going up to 15 degrees, 850 HPA, which it doesn't look like it's going to come off at all. If I look at the precipitation, you can see in the longer term, it actually does look like precipitation will pick up in May. So perhaps literally first couple of days of May, we could see the most significant rainfall, especially in London, where it's been very dry for over a month. And that's at this stage. Again, it's 7 days away, so things can change, but it's definitely looking like the majority of ensemble members are going a lot wetter again. And that perhaps is supporting the idea of the ECMWF and GM runs, unlike this GFS run, where the GM and ECMWF broke through with low pressure in the Atlantic. It would mean temperatures will be a bit higher than what this GFS run was showing, but it will also mean rain and perhaps a bit of wind as well. But again, we do need the rain. If we do go without rain for too long, we'll maybe perhaps get wildfires and stuff when the temperatures do get up inevitably at some point this summer. And especially for sort of grass plants as well, we do need that rain, even though people don't always like it when it rains, but we do need the rain. If we now have a look at the 2 meter temperatures, You can see the last couple of days around 14, 15, 16 degrees. It will drop off slowly towards the end of this month, where it will be around maybe 10, 11 degrees overnight, perhaps dropping down to 2 or 3 degrees, maybe frosty in rural areas. Beyond that, temperatures again hover around 14, 15 degrees. So when you have sunshine, clear skies, light winds, it will feel very pleasant, and you'll be t-shirts and shorts weather. But as soon as cloud builds, sun goes away, winds pick up, it will feel quite chilly and quite sort of autumn-like, with where it's 12, 13 degrees and not feeling too warm. You do need layers with that, especially when we do see an uptick in precipitation as well. There are some ensemble members going towards 20 degrees, but as always, there's other ensemble members going around 7 or 8 degrees. So again, at this stage, it's probably best to disregard them, and only really when it comes into the 7 or 10-day time frame, we will really look at individual ensemble member runs, just showing what could happen. At this stage, beyond about 7 days, we're just really looking at trends, and the trend really is for it to remain around or just below average. But again, can't rule out a warm day. If we have a look at the dew points again, over the next week, they remain around freezing, which means air's going to be quite dry, which is beneficial for clear skies, but it will also mean more likely we're going to see overnight frosts. In the longer term, dew points lift up again, symbolic of probably more of an Atlantic air mass coming from the west, which will mean more rain, but again will stop any frosts, and will mean it's not as dry outside as well. We'll now have a look at the Met Office CET, just to show you what April's coming out with. And you can see at the moment it's 1.1 degree below average, provisional to the 23rd, of course. Probably will increase a little bit as we've had quite a warm day today. But over the next few days, temperatures will drop again. So I do suspect it'll be around maybe 6.2, 6.3 by the end of the month, which is considerably colder than March, and only around a degree warmer than February. And that February included a very, very cold spell at the beginning. So yeah, April has generally been similar to what we saw towards the second half of February, really. Really quite cold. And you can see the anomaly for the year up to the 23rd is 0.35, and if we have a look at the mean central England temperature of the last few years, you can see very few have been anywhere below around -7, -8. A couple, again, anomalies in the last sort of 20 years have been around 0 or 1, going even down to minus 0.5. But yeah, 0.35 provisionally this year so far is pretty chilly indeed, and we could be setting up around an average, or potentially just a little bit warmer than average year, which will be interesting to see what happens with that. And if we do remain with this northern blocking pattern, because if that does stick around through the summer, it will likely suppress temperatures in the summer. But as we head into the autumn and winter next year, if those blocking patterns do stick around, which they have done in previous sort of years where we've had northern blocking sticking around for months and months on end, if they do stick around in time for next winter, it'll be very interesting to see what will happen. As I've listened, a lot of people talk about teaser winters. That's what we could have had this year, but we'll see. Again, I'm getting a bit too far ahead of myself as I'm talking about next winter, but just interesting to see what will happen with that. So yeah, quite cold April is going to continue. May doesn't look like it's going to improve too much, but again, it's looking still quite dry for next week. Beyond that, perhaps some more rain for those gardeners out there. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.